Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 36 of the Old Men Magic podcast. Peace be with you, Alex.
Peace be with you, Steve.
It is Saturday, April 15th, 2003. It is time for another episode of the Best Damn Magic the Gathering podcast, hosted by two middle-aged men who still live with their parents. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit of MTG Finance news. We have a cycle of cards to talk about from the early 2000 set Legions and much more. But first, Alex, we have some follow-ups to last week's episode. My follow-up was about Zuran Orb. I can't remember why we were talking about Zuran Orb last week, but we mentioned it briefly. Oh, it was when we were discussing the Parfait deck, the blue Parfait deck that won that pre-modern tournament.
Oh, okay.
He had a Zuran Orb in there. You're like, Zuran Orb's badass. You mentioned it was banned in a bunch of formats. And I was like, yeah. Banned in 0 formats right now.
Yeah, crazy.
Skyfall. Legal.
I was totally wrong. I was having an episode.
Well, so I after I saw this, I thought, what was going on? I did a little bit of digging on the internet. It was banned back when we used to play.
Yeah.
It was banned in 97. It was banned in a few different formats. It was banned in Ice Age only formats. It was banned in Ice Age Alliances Constructed. I mean, when those two sets were, at their peak, that's when we were doing most of our playing, I think. Mm-hmm. And then it was banned in Standard a little bit later. So it was banned at some point, but time has passed. Power creep has happened. It's really not banned in anything we would be playing right now. So, that's my follow-up.
For some reason, when we got back into Magic a little while ago, I felt like I checked on it at some point and noticed that it was like still at least partially banned somewhere, but I guess I was wrong. So interesting. Now I know I can play my Zuran Orb.
You had something you wanted to say about another card. Spirit of Resistance. I remember you mentioned Spirit of Resistance.
It's not important, but it was just that was the card I could not remember last week. We were talking about Crystal Spray, and I was trying to remember. I got confused about what card we were talking about. Spirit of Resistance is a white card that had like a little price spike a few months ago. And it's kind of settled back down as it should have.
I do remember this now because you were talking about the different colors and we were like Land Before Time. This is the Land Before Time art.
Yeah, it's the Land Before Time dinosaur, and it's the multicolored, energy thing, and that's why I was confused about the spray of prismatic, crystally stuff.
Enchantment. If you control a permanent of each color, prevent all damage that be dealt to you. Okay. Very particular type of deck.
Anyways, moving on.
That's the end of the follow-ups. Segment 2, Alex. The first official segment of today's podcast. MTG news, MTG finance discussion. You had some things in the market that you noticed that you wanted to talk about. I know there's a lot of news going on, March of Machines related, but on this podcast, on the Old Man Magic podcast, we are still stuck in the late 90s and the early 2000s. We're not ready for March of the Machines yet. We'll get there in about 20 years. For now, we want to talk about Drop of Honey. We want to talk about Abyss. We want to talk about
Sometimes we talk about the new stuff too, though. When it's
interesting. Don was in the news last week, and that's originally Arabian Nights. So you best believe we're going to talk about
it. Anyways,
what finance thing did you want to talk about today?
Well, you mentioned a Don excuse me, a Don deck card, and a lot of the cards on the list right now of like movers are Don related, or they're brand new cards. Yeah,
I see Diminishing Returns also from Don. We talked about that last week, up 150% again this past week. Crystal Spray still going up. Crystal Spray was the thing we should have bought when we first noticed it going up.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe how much that's jumped.
It's like $24 now.
Lifeblood's up a little bit again. I know that card. That's another card that's been targeted a little bit, right? Lifeblood.
Lifeblood was one of the. Yeah, it was part of a big reserve list buyout when people were targeting like A lot of the reserve list cards from some of the old sets that just hadn't done anything forever because they weren't highly playable. People didn't really care about them all that much and they were cheap. Some people obviously put a ton of money into buying them out. Lifeblood was much lower pre-COVID spikes. It was a $10 card. Yeah. I don't know how many people are doing this, but it was like a concerted effort by one or a few people to really buy this card out in like mid 2020. And then you just get a bunch of people that just see the momentum and they just jump on. So I think that's all that's happening with Lifeblood. It's just the same. It's just a reserve list buyout that's just continuing. I wanted to buy a copy of this card back before this all started because I was interested in just like picking up one as a sideboard card. It's a 2 colorless, 2 white enchantment. You gain 1 life point each time one of your opponent's mountains becomes tapped. I was like, yeah, this would be fun to put it in a sideboard against a burn deck or something. But, it's not something I'm going to play very often.
I like it. I just want one because it looks cool.
It looks cool too. As soon as I had that thought, like right here. And then the next week, it shot up, and all the copies on you couldn't get a copy on TCG Player for like less than $40. It was like right when the buyout started, and I was like, forget that. I don't want to pay more than $10 for a Lifeblood.
Yeah, I know. Same thing. I'm not going to drop that much money on just because like it's kind of neat to look at. I don't know if there was anything else that was super crazy. Goblin Sharpshooters showing some activity, but I think it's come down from where. No, it's still just going up. It says about $30 for that.
Yeah, that's a thing that's been going on for a while too.
Mm-hmm. I think we mentioned it before.
Because I bought. I can't remember if I just bought 1 for my Goblin deck or 2. I feel like I just bought 1 because I just wanted to put 1 in the deck. And then that was when it was like $12. I think I got it for like $12. And then it's just been going up and up and up and up ever since. And I thought I should have bought 2.
I saw Jacques Levert on the list, and I assume that's because we talked about him so much, but I don't think he's really gone up at all. It just says he's gone up a few dollars, and the graph is still pretty flat. We're getting into like the smaller movers now, so they're just kind of things that wobbled a little bit. There's Contamination, that card I've talked about a few times. It's coming down a little bit. It was about $30 for a while, and they're saying about 23 now. So that makes me happy because I want to pick up a couple of those.
There are some people in pre-modern who run Contamination. There's like Contamination decks. And they look like they'd be fun to play, but
I believe it. It's strong.
I did not want to pay $40 for a Contamination.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see it's been coming down for quite a while. Hopefully that continues. Is it? It's not reserve list, but it just hasn't been reprinted. They could reprint it at any time. 2 colorless, 1 black enchantment, rare from Urza Saga. During your upkeep, sacrifice a creature or sacrifice Contamination. Whenever a land is tapped for mana, it produces black instead of its normal type or amount. Yeah, so I've seen like Black Prison style decks in the pre-modern format running Contamination. It's just like, when this is out and your opponent isn't playing black, they're just locked down. It just has a hell of an upkeep cost.
Mm-hmm. But for black, fits.
Do you need a token generator of some sort?
Yeah. We're just talking about that Sengir Autocrat.
A Sengir Autocrat, yeah. Although, that's just
or any other of a million black cards that generate things.
You need a breeding pool. What is that? The thing that from
that Fallen Empires? Yeah, I think so. That was like an era where it was frustrating because you knew black was supposed to do stuff like that, like generate like a lot of little creatures that you could sacrifice, but there just weren't a whole lot of cards that did it yet.
I'm wrong. Breeding pool is something else. What was the damn thing from Fallen Empires?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It bred thralls, breeding pit.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Nice idea.
It's been reprinted. But I never played this card back in the day. I feel like it has, if it's from Fallen Empires, does it have some sort of terrible cost associated with it?
It's just
Yeah, it's just 2 black upkeep. So it's not a cumulative upkeep. It's 3 colorless, 1 black enchantment. During your upkeep, pay 2 black or bury Breeding Pit. At the end of your turn, put a Thrall token into play. Treat this token as a 0/1 black creature. Okay, so you would just have to devote 2 black to this to keep your contamination out. That's not... I have memory of this card being much worse. Mostly, probably because so many things from Fallen Empires were terrible.
Yeah, and the things they made to synergize and like work together, just like
Thralls,
they weren't very good. Like all the like tribal things and the way they were supposed to generate tokens, and they just weren't very good. I saw something else. I forget what the card is called. It's a 1 black 3/3 creature, and it switches to your opponent's control. Huh?
I saw that too.
I can't remember what it's called now.
And I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought, do I want to buy some of these now? Or do I just think I want to buy them because I'm seeing them going up in price?
It was from Urza.
It's
Sleeper Agent. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And I was going to ask you if you knew why it was going up.
I don't. I was thinking Infiltrator of some sort. But I had the same question. And I wonder if it has something to do with March of the Machines, because it's not a Don spike. Sleeper Agent, rare from Urza Saga. 1 black, 3/3 minion. Sleeper Agent comes into play. Target opponent gains control of it. During your upkeep, Sleeper Agent deals 2 damage to you. I thought this is a really interesting and unique creature. Obviously just terrible if you're not building a deck around it. Because you just give your opponent an extremely efficiently costed creature, and you do 2 additional damage to yourself every upkeep. So yeah, you just do 5 damage to me, please, at the beginning of the game. But obviously people aren't just playing as a regular creature. I don't know what is happening with Sleeper Agent yet, but that is something I need to figure out.
Well, wait, I'm sorry. I sort of missed what you said, but I think maybe...
Oh yeah, if you give it to them, they're doing 2 damage to themselves.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but still, they can attack you for 3. So what can you do? I mean, you could have this in something where you just prevent their attacks.
Yeah. What I'm seeing here, I just looked it up on Gatherer, and its creature type is now creature Phyrexian minion. So I bet that is why it's jumping in price.
I'm going to build a moat Sleeper Agent deck. I'm just going to play my moats. I'm going to give people Sleeper Agents.
Now it's finally something that can work with Copper Tablet, Steve.
I was going to say, we've talked about these decks before. Forsaken Wastes, Copper Tablet. Now I add Sleeper Agent to it. Fogs. We just do nothing but fogs and prevent attacks, and then just do 1 damage.
Back in the day, it would be like a wall deck.
2 damage. 2 damage. I mean, they're not good decks at all, but I do want to win some games like that. It would be fun.
Just like a different way to do like a control deck. I like it.
Yeah, Copper Tablets too. They're not. I mean, they're not that expensive because nobody plays them.
Right.
But they're still cheaper than I thought they would be. Like, I have not bought any Copper Tablets, but I feel like I should. This is a card that wasn't printed and revised, so its last printing was from Unlimited.
I know. I like those cards like that. So it's always been kind of a card that appealed to me because it, like, we were opening revised packs, and so like this was,
Yeah. They have a special appeal.
Mystique.
A special appeal to us because they were like the cards that the people who started right before us are opening, but we couldn't get now. Oh, they must not have reprinted it because it was so powerful. A lot of the things got lumped together in our minds with the Power 9, I think. At least they did
or even just the the older cards, the cards like Icy Manipulator and the art on this card makes it look like Illusionary Mask a lot.
Yeah, another one that fits into this category of like not reprinted and revised, but also not really played that often. Deals 1 damage to each player.
I mean, it's kind of good.
Upkeep.
Illusionary Mask isn't bad.
It's not bad, but I almost never see it played. I never really saw it played back in the day either. Is this just like a multi-turn camouflage? I have a memory of like this and camouflage being able to do the same thing.
It's similar to that.
Play X, you can summon a creature face down so opponent doesn't know what it is. The X cost can be any amount of mana, even 0. It serves to hide the true casting cost of the creature, which you still have to spend. As soon as the face down creature receives damage, deals damage, or is tapped, you may turn it face up. So basically, I guess it's not like camouflage, but people don't know what you have on the board.
And it's been a while since I read about this card, but there's some like, tricky things you can do with it, if I remember correctly.
This is the morph mechanic before morph existed.
Oh, okay.
This allows you to morph all your creatures. I don't know if we've talked about any morph creatures yet on the podcast, but in some of the pre-modern legal sets, morph showed up. I don't remember which set it first showed up in, but the creature has its normal casting cost, and then it has a morph casting cost, which I think is always lower. You could pay that casting cost,
and then you have to pay
face down.
To flip it. Yeah.
But you pay the morph casting cost face down, and it's always like a 2/2 creature or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of cards like that. Some of them are pretty cool.
Exalted Angel is the one that I played.
Brought one or two.
That's a really good one. Anyways, I don't know how we got talking about Copper Tablet and Illusionary Mask.
Oh, this is what happens. It's because of Sleeper Agent.
Okay.
We're really off topic now.
I do like Sleeper Agent. I did see that. I thought it was cool. Do you want to talk about our cycle? Our cycle for the week, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Muse cycle. This is a series of cards that we wanted to talk about because I think you brought one of them up last week's podcast. You might be adding one to your deck.
I am. I think so, yeah.
It is the Muses cycle from Legions. So Legions is the second set in the Onslaught block. It was released in 2003. I was reading a little bit about it online, and I saw that it was the first all-creature set in Magic history. I had no idea that it was an all-creature set. Since we've got back into Magic, I've come across a few cards from Legions here and there that I thought were cool. They always happened to be giant creatures, so I knew like the theme of the deck was giant creatures, but I didn't realize it was an all-creature set.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have heard that at one point, but yeah, I'm not really sure. So there's like no spells at all.
No spells at all.
Okay.
I did see some walls, and I thought, what the hell's that about? But a wall is a creature type, apparently. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Wall is a creature type, usually found on defensive creatures. I hate that, Alex.
I'm surprised you didn't remember that.
I forgot. They need to change that. This is not a creature.
I understand.
That is a creature right there.
Right, the camel, the incidental camel.
This is a wall, not a creature type. They need to fix this. It's been 30 years. They haven't fixed this.
I got this bad boy in my very first starter deck, and I remember being impressed because,
it's 8
relative to everything else that I was like seeing there. I was like, wow, that thing's okay. I get it. It's purely defensive, but man, that's, I can block.
When you're 11 years old, you're like, what's going to deal with the force of or the Lord of the Pit?
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with the Lord of the Pit? I'm going to play my Wall of Stone. I said Force of Nature, but a Force of Nature knocks down this Wall of Stone.
Yeah. But so this card for, always, has a nostalgic, takes me back to my very first like pack opening, being like, wow.
You should buy an Alpha Wall of Stone for
I should, yeah, maybe I should.
About $100. According to MTG stocks, who knows how much.
I'll buy a beta.
You can probably buy one cheap. Beta? I'm going to guess 40.
I like collecting betas instead of alphas anyways.
Maybe 25. Let's see what they really are right now on TCG Player. If you wanted to buy one at this moment, what are they really? This is our Wall of Stone segment of the podcast. Light played, $20. $25. This person, every time I look for like an alpha or a beta something, this same seller is always on the list. Interest or MTG.
I see them a lot.
Yeah. I think it's just a person, right? Yeah, it's not a shop. Anywho, Wall of Stone. But that's not what we're here to talk about during the Muses segment.
No.
We're here to talk about the Muses. So it's a cycle of cards, one creature for each color. I don't remember what all of them do. I'll remind myself as we go through the segment, but the ones I know about are pretty badass, and I think this breaks a trend that we've been seeing with the other cycles we've discussed recently, where the white creature is by far, or the white spell, the white card is by far the worst. I don't think the white Muse is the worst. And even if it is the worst, we'll see when we go through all of them. It's definitely pretty cool and definitely playable. But the first one I want to talk about is the green Muse. It is Seedborn Muse. It is a rare, first printed in Legions. It's had many reprints, 9th edition, 10th edition, one of the commander sets. So it's been printed a lot, but it's still quite pricey. It's still around $20, you know. Casting costs 3 colorless, 2 green. It is a creature spirit. It's 2/4, and you can untap all permanents you can control during each other player's untap step. Highly rated, highly played, which is why I think it's $20, despite being printed in Legions, 9th edition, 10th edition, and a commander set.
Oh, wow.
I think it's just generally good. I mean, I've always loved creatures with vigilance. They were some of my favorites back in the day. Like, I loved loading up my creature decks with cards that either had vigilance or cards or creatures that had first strike. Those are probably my 2 favorite creature mechanics. You know, nothing beats a moat with a Sarah Angel floating over it, attacker and blocker. This is great for a blue deck, blue-green deck. I mean, you don't ever have to worry about not doing something you want to do because you want to leave your 2 blue untapped. Your 2 blue are always going to be untapped. You're still open to things like instants and stuff. You can't necessarily stop, because if you tap out on your turn, your opponent has an instant, you don't get to untap until
but I mean,
they're untap step. So, but it's still, you know, leaves that mana open for a lot of things that you might want to do during your opponent's.
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
during your opponent's turn.
Wanting that would just be like greedy, you know? Like,
that'd be crazy. Yeah.
Like, it's already super good. I like
also like multiplayer games.
Yeah, every one of your opponents, it's like
multiple untap steps. You never have to worry. You could attack whenever you want. Don't have to worry about leaving blockers there to deal with other people who might be coming at you.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's all I was going to say. I have one other thing to say, but go ahead.
That's all I was going to say. I have another thing to say.
I changed my mind.
I was just thinking this might be cool in a deck that has like your tracker or some sort of mechanic like that. Like, because so for example, like it's off of my turn. Now it's going through my opponent's turns and they're doing stuff. Maybe I'm like countering and getting to untap my land as it goes through them. Well, my creatures, I don't really get to like attack with my creatures during each of their turns. You know what I mean? But with like a tracker or one of those cards like that has like an arena type effect. Now every one of their turns, I could be doing like an offensive move with my creatures. To make damage happen and then untapping them every time. That would be pretty cool, I think.
Use it with a Royal Assassin, you'd be picking stuff off every turn.
Something like that, like a creature that taps to do something, you know, devastating to them.
Prodigal Sorcerer, I'm going to ping everybody.
But I also thought this, as I looked at this card, it kept like getting better and better to me, because at first it says permanence, and for some reason I just wasn't thinking land like immediately, and I was like, oh man, you're land too, everything.
I think it's great.
And it can't be bolted. It's 2/4.
It's
like,
2/4.
They don't usually give creatures with like such a good passive, at least back then, such a good passive ability, like 4 toughness too, you know.
Another thing I thought about when I was thinking, put this in a deck, especially a deck where you have blue. Future Sight, bitch. This is a card that's not, it's high mana cost. 2 colorless, 3 blue. From Onslaught. An enchantment. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library as though it was in your hand.
That's pretty cool.
So, you can just play. You might be able to play a lot of the shit. You might be able to play whatever you want to play on your turn, right? And on your opponent's turn, you get to untap all your lands, and then you can play whatever's on the top of your deck revealed by Future Sight also. Now, it has to be something that you can actually play on your opponent's turn.
Right.
If it was another creature.
But it's adding to your hand. It's a nice like deck digging mechanic. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And it just becomes that much better when you get to untap all your land on your opponent's turn, I think.
That'd be pretty
But still, not easy to deal with. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casting cost Future Sight with 3 blue.
Yeah.
Seedborn Muse, you have 5 casting costs with 2 green.
Yeah.
But still, throw some Birds of Paradise in there. Some Query on Elves. Who knows? I like it. Current market price of $18.12. I feel like the old border doesn't have enough premium. Enough premium here, Alex. Price premium. The old border, black border, looks so much better, in my opinion, than the 9th and 10th editions. And it's only like $4 more. But to each their own. Whatever. Whatever you choose. I'm glad it's not more expensive. So that's Seedborn Muse. That's the green Muse in the Muse cycle. The next one we're going to talk about, Alex, is the one that I believe you brought up.
Yeah, this is how we kind of got on this topic.
Episode.
I mentioned this as a defensive creature that I might use.
Windborn Muse. Rare, first printed in Legions, also in 9th edition, 10th edition, a commander set, and others. Dominating Remastered also. So you could pick this guy up for, this lady, I think, for 50 cents. Dominating Remastered. Even a full art version, extended art version.
Oh, whoa. I didn't see that
50
one. That's crazy. A lot of arms.
Yeah.
A lot of arms.
But Windborn Muse, its casting cost 3 colorless, 1 white, creature spirit, 2/3 flying, so that's good. Creatures can attack you unless their controller pays 2 colorless for each creature attacking you. So, what is this on Gatherer? I don't remember. Let's look this person up. Give me a moment.
The rating, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think decent.
I like to see the ratings for these cards. I like to see
what
people
I like to read the
saying
discussions
about
and see
them.
what people combo with them.
Windborn Must. That's not what I wanted to look.
That'd be like a black and green card.
Somebody get on that. Some designer. 3.94. Okay, so obviously people really like this one as well. It's obviously good also, just like the Seedborn Muse. In the right type of deck, in the type of deck that you want to play in Commander. You're making a group hub deck and you're putting in a lot of things with fog effects or a lot of things to try to reduce the odds that people will attack you, reduce the frequency with which you get attacked, so you have some time to set up your win condition, manage the board state.
I remember hug in my deck. I don't have too many cards that are like helping people.
Yeah.
I need to find a few more like that like. But I think, I don't know, if I play just like a lot of defensive cards, I think I'm still kind of getting the same effect. So we'll see.
You still got a lot of cards to fill in. So
yeah, I'm going to keep tinkering with it.
I love this first comment here on Gather Herd. This is great in a flying.
This is great in a flying deck. It'd be great if this guy like comments that on like every
flying creature. They talk about some, comboing this or running this in decks with other cards that have similar effects, which would be a huge pain in the ass if you're like me and you like to play creature decks, you like to play tribal decks. Have this stuff in the deck along with something like Collective Restraint, where creatures can't attack you unless their controller plays X, blah, blah, blah. There's other cards like this too from later sets. Propaganda, an enchantment, 2 colorless, 1 blue. creatures can attack you unless their controller plays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. So there's a lot of things that have this same effect.
Mm-hmm.
Their enchantments, harder to remove in general than the Windborn Muse, which is a creature. But, sometimes I like to have the effect on a stick.
Uh-huh. It's a decent flyer there. I don't have too many creatures yet, and this will be at least my second spirit, I think, which is good because my commander helps tribal cards. And so far, I didn't have really any direction to go with tribal, but maybe I could do spirits. I could have like a couple different spirits in my deck. Might be helpful.
Potential. I think there's a lot of things that have been errated to be spirits too. Or spirits were errated to be something else. But I think they were errated to be spirits. Because I remember looking through I remember coming across old cards, several different old cards, and thinking, oh, what did this become after the Great Creature update? Seeing that's now a spirit.
And it was like a spirit. Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So Windborn Muse, also a really good card. And it's a white card in the cycle, and it's not terrible, which is fantastic
and
to
it's
see.
Cheap.
Fantastic to see. Yeah, cheap, and even cheaper if you want to go with the Dominaria Remastered one. This is something you can pick up for 50 cents.
I was going to mention, too, just a little detail, but it only does this for me, like the creature's controller. So in a multiplayer game, it wouldn't affect their ability to attack each other, just me. So that makes it much,
They're not going to be annoyed at you in general. They'll just be like, oh, okay, well, I got to keep an eye on this person.
Easier to attack someone else now.
Yeah. They're not going to be pissed off at you because they can't do their shit with their creatures.
Yeah.
So I like the Windborn Muse. Next one in the cycle we're going to talk about, Alex, is the Blue Muse. This one has super cool art.
Yeah.
The Blue Muse is Dreamborn Muse, first printed in Legions, also printed, as we just saw, in 10th edition, printed in a commander set. It is also a rare, first printed in Legions. Casting cost 2 colorless, 2 blue. A creature spirit, it is 2/2. When you play Dreamborn Muse, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player puts the top X cards from his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of cards in his or her hand. This is the kind of thing that I would get irritated with you about if you played. So I feel like this card would make you a target.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want to be milling my deck.
Yeah, well, this is like a central piece of a mill deck.
Exactly.
And it's a continuous milling effect every turn, so like they would get annoyed at that pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be a major target, but it is a pretty cool addition to a mill deck, and I wonder what people suggest doing with it other than just saying, hey, put this in a mill deck.
Well, so like if you're milling, you can be milling into their graveyard or also making them draw more to get their deck smaller, and this works with like both strategies. So I can see it getting out of control really fast, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like their hands getting all jammed up, and then it's making them mill more cards.
.784 rating on Gatherer. This person is saying it's part of a cycle in Legions, later printed in 10th edition. Thank you for letting us know. We already know that. That's why we're doing a whole segment on it right now. I suppose you can use stuff like prosperity to make players draw a lot. So this is, a strategy where you want to try to make their hand as large as possible, so they have to mill as much as possible. That's where you would be trying to, make them mill their whole deck, so they lose the game. They have no new cards to draw. That is scary though, because you're giving a whole bunch of cards, and if you're giving them a whole bunch of cards, eventually they're going to find a way to get rid of your 2/2 creature. I don't know what these people are suggesting. There's not a whole lot of suggestions for it. I mean, I think I would want to put it in a deck where I want to play from my graveyard. That's my thought. Again, graveyard decks.
I would help you stock your own graveyard. Okay, yeah, I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that it happens to you too. Okay.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
I could be reading it wrong.
You're right. You're right. I just glossed over that.
Yeah, each player's upkeep. So I would look at this as a card that you could put in your deck to do the thing that you want to do. It's helping you with your strategy, and at the same time doing something terrible to your opponent.
Yeah, and you don't really have to like lean into that effect for them. It doesn't have to.
You don't have to,
necessarily be
yeah.
Like, yeah, a
It's
mill
just like a
deck or a
bonus.
making them draw deck. It's just doing that to them, and it's nice, and it's helping you stock your graveyard. Okay, yeah, I think I
just a
like it more
bonus.
like that. Maybe, yeah. Because I don't love the casting cost. I mean, it's not a bad casting cost. It's just 4. It's 2 and 2. But if you wanted to get this down, like you said, as like a major mill strategy, and it's a big target, they're going to kill it. You're going to have to bring out a second one, probably. You know what I mean? Starts to get kind of clunky. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
They're going to kill it.
Yeah.
So it's still a cool card, though. I like it. I don't know if you're going to build a real competitive deck around it or not, but it's fun. The next card of the Muse cycle, Alex. Graveborn Muse. This is interesting. I don't even know what this one does yet, so I'm finding out on the fly.
Oh, really?
I like the fact that it's a zombie because I will be building a zombie deck either in late 2023 or 2024. Probably 2024. I haven't started collecting zombies yet, but I'm putting together lists. First, another rare printed in Legions, also reprinted in 10th edition, like that person told us, part of a cycle that was first printed in Legions, later reprinted in 10th edition. Casting cost is 2 colorless, 2 black. It is a zombie spirit. It is 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. Oh, I won't be putting this in my zombie deck. That sounds scary. Right? You would have to put this in a type of zombie deck that didn't actually involve like killing with a horde of zombies. It would have to be a more
small number of zombies
focused zombie deck. I don't know if those types of decks exist or not. I haven't.
Yeah, or maybe like a deck with a lot of like sacrifice options, and then like before this is going to happen at some point, then you like sack a bunch of your creatures so they aren't there anymore. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I don't know either. But they have to be there for you to draw the card. They have to be there for you to get the bonus.
Well, right. Yeah, I'm just saying you could sort of like turn it off by like sacrificing creatures.
I know what I'm going to do, Alex. I'm going to run this in my blue-black Stifle zombie deck, and I'm going to stifle the lose X life effect.
Oh, okay.
Can you do that? Can you stifle just one? If a card has multiple effects, can you stifle just one of them?
Can't ask me this on the fly, Steve.
This is something for a judge.
First off, is this?
Let's start by reading stifle. Counter target activated or trigger ability. Mana abilities can't be countered.
Yeah, so I mean, is this a cost rather than ability?
At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. I don't know.
I can't remember now.
Because they're kind of together in my mind. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards and you lose X life. It would be weird to think of draw X cards as a cost.
Yeah, you're right. It seems, yeah.
This is just a thought. This is something we have to figure out. Is this a triggered ability or is it a cost?
There's like a simple rule for this that we should be remembering too.
I don't play rules. I don't play Magic based on rules. It's all vibes. Rules. It's vibes. I don't play based on rules. Let's see if anybody has anything interesting to say about Graveborn Muse.
That's what I was going for.
So far, I don't love Graveborn Muse. I like that it's a zombie, but now when I see what it does, I don't know how I'm going to work it into the type of zombie decks I was planning on building. 3.809 on Gatherer, still fairly highly rated. A worthy 4-drop once the extra draws begin trickling in. Great for mono black control, as you can ask her departure when life totals thin. What does that mean? What does that mean? You can ask her departure when life totals thin. Lambie, why did they give this comment 5 stars? Does anybody know what it meant? Are we the only ones that don't know what it means right now? Splash white for words of worship. You can run this on some kind of weird deck where you have a card where saying like you can't lose the game if you go below 1 life or something. Words of worship is an enchantment from Onslaught. 2 colorless, 1 white. Pay 1 colorless. The next time you would draw a card this turn, you gain 5 life instead.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, two people mentioned that.
Why don't I ever see anybody play that card? That seems like a good card, doesn't it? 5 life for just drawing a card? So many decks run card draw abilities. Holy smokes.
And it's enchantment, so it would go nice in like a like drawing based enchantress deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to think about that.
This card may be a key player in a zombie deck. While you do have to be careful not to kill yourself, that's what I'm worried about. The real beauty of this card is that it accelerates your game immensely. And if you're playing heavy aggro zombies, okay, that's the type of situation where I was scared to play this card. The 3/3 body coupled with your other forces may very well kill your opponents before they can shut down your Graveborn Muse. Maybe I'll have to play it and see. I do feel like I would get myself killed often if I played this card.
Okay, so this person says if you are worried about the life loss, keep a carry-on feeder or flushbag marauder on hand, so those allow you to sacrifice creatures.
Yeah, you need a way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, but I could also just not play it. Oh, okay, carry-on feeder is a zombie. Can't block, sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on carry-on feeder.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't seen...
Good card to use with that.
I was going to say I haven't seen this card yet, and now I probably know why. Let me look to see when it was first printed. If it wasn't printed in an old border set first, I'm not going to play. Oh, Scourge. It just made it in. It's just under the wire, Alex. It's pre-modern legal. Carry-on feeder Scourge. Okay. Interesting. Look at that guy.
Creepy.
Okay. So, I mean, maybe this Muse is a little bit easier to play in a zombie horde deck than I'm realizing. And I just need to get some reps in with it, Alex. It had a spike. It was up above $6. Now I can pick up around $2. I should pick some up. I probably will late 2023 or 2024 when I start to assemble my pre-modern zombie deck.
Yeah, and you could like save this card for later in the game so that it doesn't get out of hand too much for you. You could use it for like a nice big chunk of card draw late in the game.
Mm-hmm. You can also do it early in the game.
Yeah, and then sacrifice creatures or
if you're a little bit
this lady somehow.
If you're a little bit behind, you could play your Graveborn Muse, and maybe you just have like 1 or 2 zombies out. You're playing a goblin deck. They have 4 goblins coming your way. Those extra cards put extra zombies in your hand that you needed just at the right time, just to get.
I like the idea of playing it in a blended deck that isn't like all zombies,
Yeah.
So you can, at culling of the week, my 2 zombies, and then I use my like other big baddie who isn't a zombie, maybe, or some kind of creature that can change creature types.
Interesting.
I know, like, sorry, that becomes more popular later, right? Like in modern cards, they have like mimics and stuff that like can change to other changelings. Is that what I'm thinking of?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I mean, they might exist,
like changelings or something like that, and they can be different creature types.
Okay. Haven't made it that far yet.
Changeling is a keyword ability that gives creature cards all creature types simultaneously.
Jeez.
Yeah.
When did those appear? Does it say?
the Lorwyn block.
Okay. Haven't made it that far yet.
No.
So I like the Graveborn Muse. For me, it's about equal right now with the Dreamborn Muse. Windborn and Seedborn, these are just like obviously easy to play for me. Dreamborn and Graveborn might be more powerful than I realize, but it's not so easy just to slot them into any deck of that color and then just like easily have it work out well for you.
Yeah.
You need to be a little bit more intelligent in how you play these things.
Mm-hmm.
The last Muse in the Muse cycle, Alex, is Lavaborn Muse. I like this one too. I think this whole cycle is just full of bangers, really. I mean,
I like this one too, and I think it's cool how it like works with like a a rack deck in red rather than black.
Yeah.
So it makes me instantly now want to play like a black red like discard or rack deck kind of thing.
And that's the color for a discard. At least one of the color
black, yeah. But
one of the color combos for discard.
I think it was more about the red. Sorry.
Okay. But black red, I've seen a lot of black red discard decks. I say color, but like it's a good color combo for
black. It's just red's nice to
I like to throw red into a black discard skeleton just to provide some sort of direct damage, to provide some heat, just to finish off the game a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think they go good together. Lavaborn Muse, a rare, again first printed in Legions, again reprinted in 10th edition, as the commenter in the Gathering comments told us. It is 3 colorless, 1 red, a 3/3 creature spirit. At the end of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 2 or fewer cards in hand, Lavaborn Muse deals 3 damage to him or her. It has artwork with Carmen Sandiego in the sky behind fireworks.
Volcanoes.
Fireworks.
Volcanoes.
No, they're
Lavaborn.
No. Those are mountains and somebody shooting fireworks from behind the mountains. You just can't see.
Oh, okay.
I like it a lot. I mean, it's an obviously good card, I think. It's just in a red deck, there's so many things to put in a red deck. Does this fit into a red deck? I think probably not in a straight red deck, but like you said,
not just because,
it would have to be a black-red discard deck. That's the kind of thing I would put it in. I don't want to say it would have to be, but that's the kind of thing I would think right off the top of my head to put it in. Yeah. Don't know if people are doing more interesting things with it or not. This one's cheap as hell. 25 cents. Nobody's playing it. Let me see if anybody's commenting. Lavaborn Mew. It won't complete. It doesn't like me saying Mew. $3.74.
Okay.
Solid rating on Gather. This person has a comment about the flavor text. Shut up, nerd. Great card for aggressive black and red decks that feature discard like Blazing Spectre. Okay. That way the Muse can deal up to 6 damage each turn. Also known as Nice Rack. At worst, a Hill Giant. At best, an effective tool to eke out extra non-targeted damage against multiple opponents and a clock, especially if you're utilizing discard and Meekerman Blighting. So yeah, nobody has any like clever things to do with it. It looks like a lot of the same things we thought of when we first saw the card. But that's a rack on a stick. It's good in a red-black discard background.
Yeah, I would put it in a deck like that. That's cool.
That's the end of the Muse cycle, Alex. I think that's a solid cycle. I mean, we've been going through some cycles of these sets that were released after we first stopped playing back in the late 90s,
and some of them are meh.
Some of them are meh. Some of them have like 1 or 2 great cards, and then the rest are just unplayable. Nobody ever does anything with them. I think this is just all around solid. Like whatever color you play, you could fit a Muse into your deck. I think some better than others, but they're all good. I like this.
They all have a use. I think they're
I like this. I hate it when it's like, oh, geez, okay, we have a cycle, but only one of them is even playable. The rest are just garbage. Why did we make a cycle out of this? We ended with Lavaborn Muse. We decided it's probably best in a black-red deck. Alex.
Yes.
You have a black-red spell that you wanted to discuss. A spell from back in the day.
Back in the day. I'm not sure why this came up, but it came up recently. I came across it again, and I know I have a few of them, and I used it, and I liked it back in the day. Kaervek's Purge. I don't know how many people remember this. When I looked it up, I realized it hasn't been reprinted again since Mirage. Only has one printing.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's weird.
Yeah, and so when this card came out, like there was like a fair amount of buzz around it, if I remember. People were pretty stoked because it was, not, still a limited card pool back then, and this added a new way to do some direct damage. Anyways, what it does is it's 1 black, 1 red, X sorcery. Destroy target creature with casting cost equal to X. If that creature is put into the graveyard this way, Kaervek's Purge deals to the creature's controller an amount of damage equal to the creature's power. So the two numbers that are important are the creature's casting cost and its power. But you get a creature removal and a big hit to your opponent, presumably, or a small hit to your opponent, in one spell.
It's a way for black to get rid of any color creature.
Correct.
I mean, if you're playing red, you already have heat. You already have direct damage.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a good combo card for these two colors.
And it's good to get rid of a creature that maybe has like a reasonable casting cost but high toughness. You know what I mean? Because with red direct damage, that would be a little bit tough.
Yes.
And like you said, for black, this now gets rid of anything, not like terror or something, which, black has some holes in what it can get rid of. What I was starting to kind of get into too was this came out at the same time as Kaervek's Torch in Mirage. Kaervek's Torch makes counter spells that target it cost 2 more to cast. So that was a really big spell at the time because it was like an anti-counter direct damage spell.
That was. I've heard people talk about the Torch too. I don't remember what I was listening to or what I was watching, but it was like a Mirage era draft.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, you take the Torch, right? And they're like, yeah, you take the Torch. Like the Kaervek's Torch, I guess when you were drafting Mirage was like the thing you would want to pick up. That's how you would like finish off a game.
It was really strong back in the day. Everyone, when people had been basically using, Fireball, Disintegrate, not too many spells to choose from. And then Kaervek's Torch came out and it made it so much harder to counter. This would be like your Kaervek's Torch would be your finishing move, against a blue deck because now it's so much harder to counter. Anyways, I was just mentioning it because these two cards came out at the same time and it was like, oh wow, 2 more options that are neat. Kaervek's Purge, probably outclassed today is my opinion, I guess. It probably hasn't aged super well, but I think there are still a few neat uses for it. And you mentioned Phyrexian Dreadnought, which I think
I like this, really Alex. This is like the bane of Phyrexian Dreadnought. So many people are playing Dreadnought decks in pre-modern. I want to see somebody bust out a Kaervek's Purge.
And that's a good point because it's for as popular as Dreadnought decks are, this would definitely be a good card to have on hand.
It is the nightmare of Dreadnought because you just have to pay 1 in your colorless cost and you do 12 damage to them.
For 3 mana, I destroy your linchpin creature and you take 12 damage. Boom. Boom.
So I've never seen that happen, but I do want it to happen. I kind of just want to sideboard. I kind of just want to make a black-red deck and just sideboard Kaervek's Purges just to try to make that happen one day.
Oh, it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it. And what's cool is that since this was only in Mirage, I bet there would be a lot of people who wouldn't
be expecting
know about it. You use it on them and they'd be like, what?
They won't be expecting. Other than a Dreadnought deck, though, I'm trying to think like how often this I'd be like, yeah, I'm jazzed to have this in my
very
deck.
situational. Very situational. Like it's good for I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Any creature that you really want to get rid of at all is going to now make this a 5 casting cost spell or something, or a 6 casting cost spell. It starts to get expensive really quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
But it could be good for, getting rid of something that's really pesky that has a small casting cost. Or the Phyrexian Dreadnought.
All I think about is Dreadnought when I see this.
It's an okay way to sneak some damage through. Like I said, do 2 things at once. I don't know. When I tried using it back then, I remember being like a little underwhelmed. At first, I was like, this will be fun. And I was kind of like, it's a little, unwieldy.
I wonder if the designers specifically had Dreadnought in mind when they designed this card. I mean, they're both Mirage. They're both Mirage.
It could be. I wonder how many other cards from Mirage Kaervek's Purge would work well against too. You know what I mean? I wonder if there are a few other creatures that have something similar going like Dreadnought.
I can't think of any other like low casting cost, high power creature from that set. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. Mirage is a pretty big set. Don't remember all the cards.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Emberwild Djinn. That's something else from Mirage that is relevant.
Is that the straight red?
Yeah.
Straight up red?
Emberwild Djinn is 2 colorless, 2 red, 5/4 flying. During each player's upkeep, he or she may pay 2 red or 2 life to gain control of Emberwild Djinn.
What about this card?
I don't know. Someone in the card. No, I don't know nothing.
You were just saying, hold on. You're like, hold on. I know what I want to say. Emberwild Djinn. And I'm like, what about it?
I remember that it was in the comments here. Someone mentioned this in the comments. They say, okay, let me back up. Late game finisher for Delirium/Purge deck. Use Dark Ritual to pay for the X cost, but if you ramp AQ...
This is already getting ridiculous, I think.
Yeah. But if you ramp AQ Djinn or let your opponent keep Emberwild Djinn, then you can use this to great effect. So I guess what they're saying is in a deck where you use Emberwild Djinn for his like early game, how cool he is, and then they steal him from you.
But also AQ Djinn.
Yes, also AQ Djinn.
So you have to run a black, red.
No, I think he's saying either or. He's not saying.
Okay.
I don't think. Maybe at the same time.
I don't remember exactly what AQ Djinn does. I know.
As far as AQ Djinn puts +1/+1 counters on your opponent's creatures.
Okay.
So I guess what he's saying is, if you play with AQ Djinn, now your opponent's going to have low casting cost creatures that are getting pumped. So it might be a 1 casting cost creature that now gets up to 4 or 5 power.
Well, you got to let that happen for a while, though, and still stay alive.
Yes, correct. I guess the idea is that the AQ Djinn helps you early, and then as the AQ Djinn's like price starts to creep up on you, then you can use your Kaervek's Purge.
Okay, does AQ put +1/+1 counters on only like one of your opponent's creatures?
All of your opponent's creatures.
So this guy doesn't know how to build decks. But you know what? Let me say though, I understand him. I feel like I understand.
Yeah, I think it's a neat idea there when he's talking. He's seeing a use for it because AQ Djinn makes a small casting cost creature bigger.
I feel like I understand this man. I feel like we share some DNA when it comes to Magic deck building, because when we first started getting back into Magic again, I bought AQ Djinns. I bought Emberwild Djinns. I bought that Djinn, the blue Djinn that gives your opponent 3 cards when you play it. Because I want to build a stupid Djinn deck, and I just want to sometimes win games with it. So yes, they're terrible, but also I want to play them.
I was trying to find a way to slot AQ Djinn in back then when it came out, and I was like, I didn't, but it's always been a card that kind of fascinated me.
So yes, maybe I play Akujians and Kaervek's Purge.
And you kind of got me on the Emberwild Djinn train. I appreciate its uses a little more now than I did. I can see how
I've never played with it, but I kind of want to.
people do, though, right? Like, I think it's kind of liked.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I mean, maybe not as a 2.
No, I don't think anybody plays with. Nobody plays with it.
Never mind.
It's 90 cents, and it's only 90 cents because it's reserve list.
At least we got to the bottom of that. We don't have to do a follow-up next week.
Yeah. During each player's upkeep, he or she may pay 2 red or 2 life. Because, I mean, they just pay the 2 life, and then they have a 5/4 flyer. And then they just attack you with it. And then to get it back, you have to pay 2 life.
Yeah.
Or 2 red. Which you could always pay the 2 red, because you're definitely playing red if you're playing Emberwild Djinn. So maybe the idea, like, you know, if everything works out, you still lose because you don't get to attack with them the first turn you play them, but then on their first upkeep, they pay the 2 life and then they attack you for 5. So like you're starting behind with Emberwild Djinn. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to play Concordant Crossroads, Emberwild Djinn.
There's a creature called Brooding Saurian that he's a 4/4 lizard that lets you gain control of all permanents you own every turn.
Okay. Probably
So
not.
Bring your
Old Border,
Emberwild Djinn
though, right?
back to you all the time.
Probably not Old Border.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Someone else mentions Delirium in the context of this. That's
Yes.
1 black, 1 red, 1 colorless. Tap target creature that player controls. That creature deals to the player an amount of damage equal to its power. Creature neither deals nor receives combat damage this turn. Play only on opponent's turn.
That's what I was thinking. So like if you have a card like Emberwild Djinn, you could play Kaervek's Purge. You could give it to them. They could lose 2 life to get the card, and then you could play Kaervek's Purge on them.
Yeah.
Deal 5 damage. But in the case of the Emberwild Djinn, it's 1, 2, 6 mana to do that.
It's a lot of mana.
But you could use Delirium.
Right.
1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, instant. Play only on target opponent's turn. So they take your Djinn, they lose 2 life. You play this instant, you tap the Djinn to deal 5 damage to them.
Yeah.
I
like it.
And then you bring it back to you next turn.
Okay.
There's also Backdraft, right? Is it called
Backlash? I was just going to
Backlash.
say Delirium is almost exactly the same as Backlash. I don't think I didn't remember Delirium, and I got excited about Backlash when I found out about it.
I think Backlash is better.
It is.
Yeah. I can't remember why, but
You don't
I
have to
decided
play it.
that it was
You don't have to play it on their turn.
okay.
You can just play it anytime.
1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, instant. Tap target untapped creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power to its controller.
Oh, also, well, Delirium doesn't say that the creature has to be untapped. So I guess in theory you could use Delirium on a tapped creature, and Backlash you couldn't. So that's a difference.
Most of the time, it's going to be untapped.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just trying to think. I like Backlash. I think Backlash is cool, and I like the art on it.
Yeah.
I still don't think I've been able to find any of these that weren't like too much plus shipping that it made it annoying to buy them.
Really?
I think so. I haven't looked in a while though.
Well, yeah, I guess you would need to wait. I mean, if you would need to wait until you paid what, $50 now to get the free
Yeah, I
shipping.
hate that. That's
TCG
annoying.
Player upped it. It was $35 when we
It
started
was
buying.
30, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think 30. But yeah, I mean that makes it I mean the proof is in the pudding, Steve. I think only made 1 order with them since they did that.
They're losing your business.
They are.
Are you listening, CEO? Anyways, no, they're not listening. The CEO is not listening.
I'm going to check the price on Backlash right now because I'm interested.
So that was our Kaervek's Purge segment.
Yeah.
Kaervek's Purge to Djinns to Delirium to Backlash.
All over the place as usual.
Lots of good red-black cards. We talked about a lot of good red-black cards.
So here's my question to you. This is just like a little quick question. I had a red-black deck back in the day.
I don't remember.
It was I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I know what you're going to say.
What it was. I
don't remember what it was either.
I know that I had Badlands. I distinctly remember owning them, and I had a black-red deck, and I guess it was like, heat discard probably.
That's what I think, yeah.
Because I think I went from the black-red to black-white discard. And all I can really think is that I was probably playing direct damage, drain life, discard. I know I always like drain life, so it would have been in there. I think I tried using Kaervek's Purge. But I don't really remember what else would have gone in that deck. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm coming up with things that maybe I would have put in it, but I can't remember if I actually did. Will o' the Wisp, maybe?
Did you look in the show notes when you were like, what was my black-red deck, Steve?
No.
Well, my answer was, it's fun. No, it's funny what my answer is because it's the first card you named. I said, don't know. All I remember is Badlands.
Oh, that's funny. I kind of skimmed over that because I thought maybe I had typed that even because that's what I was thinking.
All I remember is that you had a deck where you played Badlands.
I had Badlands.
So that had to have been your red.
I know that it was very like direct damagey. I was probably using Kaervek's Torch. Lightning bolts I would have gone in there, of course.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Hypnotic Specters, Hymn to Torak, Lightning Bolts.
Maybe some Sengirs, maybe a
Drain
Shiva,
Life.
maybe Will o' the Wisps. But it's lost to time. We'll never know.
If only we had written records. I guarantee you I have like deck lists that I wrote down.
I'm sure I could find some old school notebook I have that has like
don't know where they're at.
Demo deck I was working on.
Right now I have deck lists on Microsoft OneNote. So as long as Microsoft doesn't go out of business, if Microsoft Windows still exists, I could always log into my Microsoft account 20 years later. I could pull up the OneNote and it'll be there. We lived before computers. Not really. But we didn't have
pervasive, easy to use computers.
I didn't have a personal computer back when I first started playing Magic. You had Apple. You had an old Apple
2GS, yeah.
But nothing happened on that Apple as far as I know, except for Rampage. We played Rampage on it, right?
That was one of them. I had a bunch of cool games for it. Cool, where they were pretty crappy, but remember Marble Madness and Arkanoid?
I remember the name Marble Madness, but I don't remember. Was it a pinball?
It was a marble rolling game. You rolled a marble around through a obstacle course. It's kind of like putt-putt.
I remember you having some sort of game too that was I don't know if it was the earliest version of Doom or if it was what existed before. It had to have been what existed before Doom.
It was that perspective and you advanced. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and you were going through
so I know what it is.
Dungeons.
Yep. It was called Dungeon Master, Steve.
Okay.
It was a very generic game, but it was a dungeon crawling. You made a 4-man party. You got equipment. You went through dungeons and fought monsters and got loot, and it was really cool. It was pretty hard and tough to it was like a janky old game, so it could be hard to get everything to but there was a cool magic system in it where you combine different symbols to craft your own spells. They didn't tell you how to cast spells. You just had to I'll combine the symbol for this with the symbol for this and see if I can make a spell. It was pretty neat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I just vaguely remember you had a dungeon game.
Dungeon Master. That's what it was called.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to start the last segment of the episode, Alex. It is the last segment of every episode of the Old Men Magic podcast. It is the Old Men Magic Commander Corner. This is the segment of the episode where Alex and I build our first ever commander decks. They are old frame only commander decks. They are terrible. I have named my first ever commander deck. It is named The Pump. It is inspired by a scene from Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. My commander is Jacques Levert. He is a 3/2 summon legend, playing for 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 green, 1 red. He gives all my creatures +0/+2. I'm basically playing a creature horde deck, putting out a lot of creatures, generating a lot of tokens, and also I filled my deck with spells or creatures that have abilities that can be used to pump up my smaller creatures. So I have Keza. give all my creatures +1/+1. My commander gives all my green creatures +0/+2. All my creatures will be green. The Waioli Wolf, I can tap to give any creature +1/+1. My Stampede Driver can give creatures +1/+1 and trample. I have Giant Growth, which you have to put in every green deck where you're pumping your creatures. I have Invigorate, which is an instant from Arcadian Mask, where you can give target creature +4/+4. I have Berserk to pump. I recently added Power Matrix to pump my creatures. I can tap the Power Matrix to give target creature +1/+1, flying, first strike, and trample until end of turn. I can pump with Fires of Yavimaya if I choose to sacrifice the fires. I can pump my creatures with Mirari's Wake. I can pump with Rancor. Is there anything else I can pump with, Alex? Yes, Alex. Pendelhaven. I can tap my Pendelhaven to give certain creatures, the 1/1 creatures, +1/+2 until end of turn.
Very good.
Alex, today to the pump, I'm going to add a creature that we talked about in our Muse cycle. I am adding Seedborn Muse.
Okay. I thought that would be the one you'd pick.
I had this creature in an early version of this deck, even before we talked about the Muses. I wanted to add this guy, this gal, whatever.
Oh, this was already on your radar.
It was already on my radar.
All right. All right. This was the most expensive one, right? Of the Muses?
I think it might have been, actually.
I think all the other ones were like under $5.
I think it was. So I have dreams of flying over with Rith the Awakener, doing major damage with my giant flying dragon, and then untapping him and using him again as a blocker. I also like the idea, like you mentioned, I can use this guy to untap my tracker each turn around the table, and I can tap him again to pick off creatures.
Yeah.
I'm adding some other things too, Alex, this week. Last week I added Spontaneous Generation, which is a 3 colorless, 1 green sorcery from Arcadian Masks, where I can put a 1/1 green sapperling creature token into play for each card in my hand. So I don't have a lot of token generators yet. I have Spontaneous Generation. I have Rith the Awakener, which whenever Rith deals damage, darn it. I touched another card. The danger of this is if you touch another card, it changes. If you deal damage with Rith, you put a 1/1 green sapling creature token into play. But you got to get through with Rith, you know. So I don't have a whole lot of things in the deck so far to generate tokens. I do want to generate tokens. You know, the deck is a creature build. I want to pump up giant creatures, but I also want to have a go wide strategy. I think they're different strategies, but they're complementary. They're creature strategies.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts to be adding more small creatures into the mix, because you're going to want like some sacrificial blockers and, you know.
Exactly. And, you know, my commander and Keza, they'll pump everything.
Yeah. And if they have, you know, some good blockers, you're still going to need enough creatures to get around.
Yep.
So, yeah, sure.
Yep. So I have a few others to add that I've learned about during my research.
Mm-hmm.
First is Sapperling Symbiosis. Sapperling Symbiosis is I don't know what that symbol. Oh, it was recently reprinted in Dominator Remastered. But it was originally printed in, here we go, Invasion. It is a rare from Invasion. It is a sorcery. It's 3 colorless, 1 green. You may play Sapperling Symbiosis anytime you could play an instant if you pay 2 colorless more to play it. Put a 1/1 green sapperling creature token into play for each creature you control. Mm-hmm. So this one can get really wide in a creature heavy deck. Spontaneous Generation, it's based on cards. My hand isn't always going to be that big. I'm counting on the Sapperling Symbiosis to really put out the tokens. I have a couple more cards to add, Alex. I am not done for today.
All right. Wow. All right.
These two are complementary. Their removal. I liked these cards. I don't know if people play them very often. I spelled mutation wrong. The first one is artifact mutation. I think this one was also originally printed in Invasion. Let me find the printing. Gonna switch to printing.
Yeah. Your Invasion or Plane Shift. Yeah.
It is a rare from Invasion. It is artifact removal.
I love this card.
It's a 1 green, 1 red instant. Destroy target artifact if it can't be regenerated. Or sorry, it can't be regenerated. Put X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens into play, where X is the converted mana cost of the artifact. So artifact removal plus sapling token
generation. Yeah. When I saw that card, I thought it was sweet.
And then the corresponding card, I'm sure also printed in Invasion, is Aura Mutation. Yes, another rare from Invasion. This is enchantment removal. It does the same thing that artifact mutation does for enchantments.
Mm-hmm.
1 green, 1 white, instant, destroy target enchantment, put X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens into play, where X is its converted mana cost. So I added some removal to my deck. I added sapling token generators.
Is Aura Mutation a little more expensive? I thought it just said $2, but I thought it was a few bucks.
You might be mixing it up with Aura Shards.
Oh, I probably am, yeah.
Which I think that's what the name of the enchantment is, right? Aura Shards.
Yeah.
Aura Mutation, $2.
Okay.
I don't know what it said in Moxfield when I was just adding it, but yeah, Aura Shards is like, I don't know, 10, 15.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Which it doesn't generate sapling tokens, but it's an enchantment that you can use over and over again anytime you play a creature.
Oh yeah. It's still good.
And artifact and enchantment. I forgot about that too, yeah. It's hella good, Alex. Hella. That is it for today's additions to the pump, Alex. We are moving to your deck. I'm going to let you explain your deck.
Hold on, I was looking at something.
Alex has a deck currently named Alex.
Yeah, I'm making a defensive deck, based kind of off of the group hug theme, although I'm messing around with it. I'm going to try to, use non-threatening means to stay under the radar for most of the game. Play diplomatic. I'm trying to make a 5-color deck, so I'm using Corona False God. That might change still, but for now, it's kind of like mainly because I want a 5-color commander. Corona pumps creatures of the same creature of a similar tribal creature type for you. So I'm also trying to think of if I want to do something to work that in. I was just discussing spirits with you recently, since I have 1 or 2 in my deck already. So that might be something I explore. I'm going to keep looking for interesting spirits to use, or maybe a different kind of creature type. But we'll see. This week, though, I want to add Windborn Muse, which we just talked about.
Windborn Muse is being added to Alex's first ever Old Frame Commander deck. This is a very exciting addition to the deck known as Alex.
Yeah, the last week or two, I've been trying to come up with a few more defensive creatures or defensive enchantments. I just added Island Sanctuary. I don't know if I'm going to keep that. Is that dumb? Do you think? I don't know.
Do whatever you want. Let's leave it. I would leave it for now.
At least
you still have a lot of slots to fill in. Yeah. I have things that I'm going to remove from my deck too, I'm sure, but
I think I like what Windborn Muse does better. I think I like that kind of effect a little more. But that's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Windborn Muse is it's easier to get rid of too. So you got to think about that.
True.
It can't hurt to have more than one thing with a similar effect, and especially different types of permanents.
Take out the if Biff afraid, Steve.
Oh Lord, we're taking stuff out already. After I was just telling you.
I mean, he's cool, but like it's not really fitting in with the theme of my deck. there's no real reason for him to be in there. I need to free up the spot. Take him out, strike his name from the monuments.
He was here because you have an Arabian Night, if Bifafreet.
He's only there.
He's only an Arabian Night, so all if Bifafreets are right.
He has a doily, and he's very fancy.
He's very suave.
He was there.
He's very debonair. But
now he's
place
out
in Alex's deck.
He's out on the street.
He has no place in the deck. See you never. That was terrible.
Advent War Muse. Take out if Bifafreet.
So we had one addition and one removal today. That was the first ever. That was the first ever removal, I think, from a deck on the Old Man Magic Commander corner. I think
I would like to add Wall of Roots and Wall of Blossoms.
We're going big on the walls today. Walls, a creature type that should not be a creature type. Well, what should it be, Steve, if it's not a creature type? I don't know yet. Give me a moment to think about it.
Yeah, again, I don't know if I'll keep these in here or maybe I'll just keep one of them, but they both add mana and they're defensive. And I'm kind of using green as my like primary foundation laying mana fixing color. So I think that's an okay pick for now.
What are the permanent types? We have lands. We have artifacts. Is there any permanent type that is like a structure? There should be a structure.
Well, that's the thing about walls is that
landscape
so many different types of walls. Some of them would be creatures.
Some would be creatures.
Artifacts.
You know which one would not be a creature? A friggin' wall of stone.
No.
Unless it's a living stone monster.
The wall of stone would be more like a land, really, or an artifact. I could see it being land. Have a Maze of Ith-like ability.
Wall of Roots. Wall of Blossom. Wall of Blossom will draw you a card and it'll block. Wall of Roots will provide you with mana and it'll block. They're both very strong walls. They're two of my favorite walls. They're two walls that I've played back in the day and I will play in current times and in the future, probably. Quality walls.
I'll add another boring card if you want.
Oh, Jesus, another addition. That's
you added a bunch. I'll throw one in too.
Okay.
I'll throw Sylvan Library in. You already have it. It's boring. I know we have several cards are going to be duplicates between each other's decks, so I'll throw some of those cards in at the end after more interesting cards like this.
There we go. Why are you playing a Sylvan Library? It's just because it's what you do when you play.
Right. I mean, if you don't think it's smart, or if anyone else doesn't, if it's just because it doesn't have a lot to synergize with in here, or there's only one of them in a commander deck, but I just feel like it's going to help me.
That's a good enough reason to play it, Alex.
I like it. And I love how it works with Howling Mine. When you have Howling Mine and Sylvan Library down together, it's fun.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Okay,
and I'm happy about my Spore Frog that you recommended too. I like him.
You're welcome. He's a quality one drop. Okay, Alex, I think that's the end of the podcast for today.
We did it.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the entirety of episode 36. I'm sure everybody stayed all the way till the end. Since I forgot to ask at the beginning for you to subscribe and hit that notification bell, I'm going to ask you right now here at the end. Please subscribe to the Old Man Magic Podcast if you haven't done so yet. Hit that like button. Hit that notification bell. I don't have anything else to say today, Alex. I begged the listeners for their subscriptions. Hopefully somebody hits that bell. Hopefully somebody clicks that button. Hopefully we get two new subscribers for the week. That's our goal.
I hope.
Do you have any words to leave our listeners with?
I don't think so.
Alex has nothing to add. Later.
Take it easy.